Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So lately I've been thinking a lot about digital art, and truth be told, I've been kind of struggling with it lately. So today I would like to talk about that, and some things I've been doing to overcome it, what my feelings currently are towards both digital and traditional art, as well as the kind of backstory behind my digital art journey, because I think that'll give you a lot of context for where I'm currently at. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about this painting. So I was feeling kind of art blocked and I needed inspiration, but I feel like I've been focusing a lot on trying to do things without reference lately, so I decided to go to Pinterest and look up a reference to help me get kind of going. Maybe there would be something there that would inspire me, and there's been a lot of stuff on Pinterest just on my feed that's been inspiring lately, so that's been really helpful. But the first thing I saw one day when I wanted to draw something digitally was this image of a girl, and I was instantly drawn to the shape of her face and the colors and kind of the angle she was at. So I decided I wanted to draw that, but kind of make it my own a little bit. So you'll see later I added some pops of red as well as the colors that were kind of already in the original. I just thought the red would really suit the color palette, and I've worked with this kind of color palette before and I've always really loved it, so I thought I would do that. Again, you'll see that in a little bit once I get to the coloring stage. You'll see too, I added like trees in the background, and I wanted to play around with the concept of her hair kind of becoming the trees, or like being the branches on the trees, but it didn't really pan out since you really can't tell that they're a part of each other. So maybe I'll explore that concept again in another painting at some point. But I'm pretty pleased with how this painting turned out, especially once I get talking about, how I've been struggling with digital art. Having a digital painting that's worked out as well as this has been really great. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with the colors and the way I was able to shade the face. I think I don't know, this angle was kind of difficult to draw, so it's probably not perfect. I think if I flipped the canvas, there's probably things that I could change a bit. But I mean, it doesn't look awful when it's flipped. I think it could have benefited from doing that again at one point. You do what you can. We learn from our mistakes, so sometime I'd like to explore this concept again. Maybe in a different pose or something. Okay, so now we'll get into the topic that I want to talk about. So for some history on my digital art journey, I started doing digital art about 4 years ago. I had been working at my first job for several months. I actually got my first job partially because I needed to start paying for college or saving for college, but also my big motivation was because I wanted to get an iPad so I could do digital art. I didn't have like a laptop or anything, so buying like a drawing tablet wasn't really an option at the time. So I really wanted to get an iPad. I had watched so many YouTube videos about people unboxing their iPads and using them for digital art, and I just could not wait. I would watch like unboxing videos while I waited after I ordered it, just because I was so excited. So I ended up getting an iPad Pro 11-inch once I had finally saved up enough money. It was one of the best purchases I've ever made because I still use it to this day. I use it all the time. Through the years, I've used it for so many things. Not only have I used it for art, I've used it for school. I used it when I was both in high school and in college to take notes and to open up slides. I watch YouTube videos on it all the time. And even now I film a lot of my YouTube videos using it, or at least one of the angles. It's 4 years old now, so the camera quality is not even as good as my phone. And I don't even have a new phone. I have like an iPhone SE. But the camera on that's better than my iPad camera. But at the time, the iPad camera was the best one I had. But even still, it works fine for using it to film another angle. But yeah, it's been like such a great thing to have around. If you're looking for a way to do digital art and you have other uses for something like an iPad, I would recommend getting an iPad just because there's some really good programs you can get. I use Procreate, as you can see in this video, but I know Clip Studio Paint is also on iPad and people love Clip Studio Paint. For me, it's not I've spent so much money buying brushes, which I'll talk about in a second, but I've spent so much money buying brushes and really getting to know this program that for me doesn't really make sense for me to switch to Clip Studio Paint when I can do everything I want in this program already. Like, I don't think Clip Studio Paint would give me much more for what I do. Maybe, if you do comics, Clip Studio Paint might be a good option for you. But obviously, if you're going to get an iPad, I recommend watching videos about programs so that you know which one's the best for you. I actually did purchase the proper drawing tablet at one point, maybe a couple years ago, once I had a laptop, the kind that plug into the computer. But I didn't really use it that often because I found I just preferred the experience of my iPad better. Like, there was nothing wrong with using it. I wasn't used to, like, having the kind of delay that I don't know if maybe it's just, like, the tablet I was using, but the kind of delay that's involved in using a tablet for me, it was just hard to get used to. And it's like, why would I get used to that when I can just use my iPad and have no delay? So, for me, I just didn't use it, so I ended up giving it away to a friend who really wanted to get into digital art. And she's been loving it, so it really is personal preference. If you want to get into tablet, like using a tablet that connects to your computer, I would recommend starting, just to see if you like it, getting like a $50 cheap one that doesn't have a screen and using that first. Try to get used to that kind of process and then maybe upgrade from there. So when I started drawing digitally, I struggled for a while getting used to the new medium, as everyone does. But once I did get more used to it, I was really obsessed with it. For a long time, traditional art got thrown by the wayside, and I was pretty much exclusively focused on digital art. So I would come up with concepts for art, and instead of doing them traditionally like I used to, I would go straight to my iPad and work it out there because I knew that I could get it the way I wanted it to look in my head. I could, you can erase anything, doing traditional art, you can erase pencil. That's pretty much it. I could paint over things, I could paint under things, I could have layers to separate things, I could use a selection tool to move things around, I could always undo or redo, it's that easy in digital art. And so any concept I had, and I did a lot of conceptual work at the time because I was very inspired in that way, and so I was definitely obsessed with doing that. I did the occasional traditional piece every once in a while, and I did use my sketchbook often, but I didn't go through sketchbooks nearly as often as I did before. I also spent quite a bit of money on Procreate brushes on websites like Creative Market and Design Cuts, so I've amassed quite a collection of brushes. So that was also incentive for me to use Procreate and digital art more than normal media because, I could get brushes and it felt like I was buying a whole new medium when I was really only spending a few dollars, because most of the stuff I bought was under $20 brush sets. I even found a lot of free ones on Pinterest too, so that was really nice. The downside to the whole thing though was that I often didn't have a physical copy of the work I created digitally. I only occasionally got certain ones printed. Yeah, I had Instagram to post my work, but I've never really enjoyed uploading to Instagram consistently. I've really struggled with it. I always get really burnt out if I try to be consistent on Instagram, and I know I should, especially now that I have this YouTube channel, which I love posting to this channel because I can show you my entire process. When it comes to Instagram and you're just posting your one image and you have to do it constantly every few days because your content really only has a shelf life of 2 days on Instagram. And so just that kind of having to do it, being repetitive, not having the freedom to not post for a week or 2 weeks, or if you don't post for a month, that's fine. You don't grow like that, and it was really draining for me, so I've never really enjoyed doing that. Traditional art was still pretty much the only way to have artwork on my walls and such, and being able to see it regularly. Otherwise it just ends up, in your gallery for a long time. On the other hand, digital art did make posting on Instagram easier because I didn't have to worry about lighting and taking good quality pictures of physical work, which wasn't really possible at the time. I didn't have a way to take pictures in good lighting. I didn't have very good cameras. That did make it easier when I did post on Instagram. Okay, so that's kind of the backstory with digital art. So for the past half year-ish, I've really been struggling with digital art. I've been focusing a lot on traditional art, and it's been great because I really enjoy the process of physically creating artwork. However, there's been a lot of projects where using a digital medium would be really useful and convenient, especially for character design projects and conceptual work, because you can pretty much do anything in digital art while maintaining the ability to undo and erase easily. However, for whatever reason, things just haven't been turning out well for a while. I haven't been inspired as much, and maybe it's just because I've been busy doing new things, or I'm just not in like my creative space as often as I used to be, so I'm just not, ideas aren't flowing as much. I think overconsumption on social media has also played a part into it. But for the most part, it's kind of just a weird thing where I felt burnt out with digital art after doing it for so long. It's just very tricky. Things just haven't been turning out well for a while, and it's like I can't seem to figure out how to apply my style to digital art anymore. I love how my style looks when I'm doing drawings, like in my sketchbook and when I use markers and stuff like that, a lot of traditional media, but I really love painterly art styles, and I really want to incorporate that into my art, especially my digital art. I just can't figure out how to do a painterly style that still looks like my style when I'm done with it, because a lot of times I'll start doing something painterly and it just, by the end, it doesn't look like my art style anymore. Like it looks too realistic or too cartoony, and it loses any kind of feature that resembled my art style, and it's really annoying because then I don't like it. I can't make it look like it was intended to, and that's really frustrating. And it doesn't help that I've been feeling kind of rusty when it comes to color theory and shadows, so feeling like I don't know how to render anything is also quite annoying on top of that. So that leads me to my solution, or at least how I'm trying to work through this. I want to have fun drawing digitally again. I don't want to dread it. I don't want to get annoyed and give up like 5 minutes into a drawing. So I wanted to figure out how to make it work for me. I've done a lot of experimenting with style lately, and I think I found a method that works for me, at least for now. Hopefully I can make it even more kind of what I'm envisioning at some point, but we'll keep trying. So what I've been doing is taking the 6B pencil in Procreate and sketching with that. I reduce the opacity on that layer and then make a new layer and do line art with a slightly thicker version of the 6B pencil. I go under that with the base colors and then alpha lock each color layer for rendering. This has worked for me for a few times now, like there's been a few paintings that I've used this method and it's pretty happy with how they've been turning out. I don't know if I want to do this method forever. Again, I want it to get it closer to how I'm envisioning it. It'll work while I try and figure out how to further incorporate the styles I love into my art. So yeah, that's what I've been working on right now. Maybe I hope that you can understand that or relate to the struggle of feeling like you can't make art in a certain medium, whether it's digital or not. You can't figure out how to incorporate your style into a new medium or even an old medium, you know? I feel like I'm having an identity crisis because I used to do digital art all the time. I just really struggle with it. Again, I love traditional art and I love the process of physically creating something. I love the way pencil feels on paper and the way a brush feels on canvas and the squeak and smell of markers, you know? I love it, and I love having something physical to hold. It's a wonderful thing. But I also want the versatility and the options that digital art brings, and so I really want to figure out how to do it better because I don't want to be stuck like this forever. So I guess that's all I really have to say right now. I hope you've enjoyed my rambles. I hope they weren't too weird or annoying. Let me know if you guys ever struggle with digital art or traditional art, or maybe even anything art related that you struggle with. Again, if there's any sort of medium that you have a hard time incorporating your style into, I would love to know that I'm not alone in this feeling, because it's kind of irritating and frustrating and kind of makes me not want to draw because I feel like an imposter somehow. I don't know why. On the internet, I feel like it's easy to think that everyone finds every part of art easy, or at least I do sometimes. I think that if someone's good at one thing, then they're probably good at everything and they never struggle, but that's not usually true. It's not usually that simple unless you're like a professional and you had experience doing pretty much everything. And I know there's always going to be weaknesses in certain areas over others, things I do more often than other things. I just want to be more versatile and cohesive with my work, and I don't want one medium to look completely different than another medium all the time. And that's not to say I'm not going to experiment with different like styles, and sometimes I'll have things that are more realistic than others in certain mediums, and I think that's fine. I think it's good to constantly trying new things. However, for a large body of my, like a large part of my work, I want it to be recognizable by me, you know? And for me, like, a lot of art is really something to de-stress and to calm down after a long day of working or whatever's going on, and I just enjoy the process of creating it. So I don't really mind having things that look different from each other, but at the same time I also want to have things that look like I drew them, and I don't want everything to look disconnected. So it's just kind of a balance for me, trying to figure out where to go with each piece and how to get there, especially with digital art. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll leave you with music until the end, but I really appreciate you sticking around and watching this video. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for listening and watching, and I hope you like this piece. Let me know what you think of it in the comments, and let me know if you can relate to anything in this video. I hope to be back next week with a video in my sketchbook, drawing something and chatting with you in my sketchbook. Again, I didn't have time this week. Things were really busy, and I just ran out of like daylight to film videos. So I hope to be back next week with that kind of content. So like this video if you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing if you want to see content like this or like the other videos I've posted and again, thank you so incredibly much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.